I'll hit it, Misty.
Oh,
Hey. I'm Kimberly Smith Austin. I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Made to Inspire podcast. I am here today with my awesome and amazing co host, Misty Kerrigan. Hey, Misty.
hey, Kimberly. Happy August still. I say that every
Yeah.
week now. August is definitely slowing down the summer for me, thank God, because I don't know what happened to July.
It's here. It's almost gone. We are just few short days. In fact, when this happens, it's Monday, and so we can call it over. But before we leave, we are going to take some time to talk about our last facet of wellness, which this week it's all about financial wellness. As you all know, we've been here over a series because August is National Wellness Month. And this month we talked about the mental, the physical, the spiritual. And now this week we're here to talk about financial. And we have an amazing guest here to share her insights, her views, and how to help you on your journey as an entrepreneur, executive, and emerging leader become financially well. Who do we have on the show with us here, Misty?
I am very excited because I got to meet this lady a little at the beginning of this year and got to sit down and talk with her and meet her and then realize she's a powerhouse. If you are into your community, into any sort of cause to help out, into giving others voices, and into, which I really love this part about her, is getting things done. The one thing I could say about Miss Jami McNees is stuff doesn't wait, and that if something is important to her, there's action in that moment. And I think we could learn a lot from that. So please help me welcome Miss Jami McNees, who is a health insurance broker, but way more.
Welcome to the show, Jami.
Hi, happy to be here.
So Jami, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born, little bit about myself. I am a health insurance broker, as you mentioned. And what that means is I'm self-employed, I'm independent, I'm contracted with all the insurance companies, and I'm licensed in multiple states. So I specialize strictly in health insurance. And that wasn't the case when I first started out, but as everything began to evolve, and I found that health insurance was just fed my soul, then I dropped all other lines of insurance because I felt like I could only be an expert in this one line. And so that's where I'm at today. The name of my health insurance agency is Thrive Health Insurance Services. And so that isn't just a name, it's actually a lifestyle.
Oh, love it. Tell us more.
So for a long time, I simply branded myself as the health insurance lady. And that was very effective. I love branding and marketing and all of those things. And I had listened to I started out as the insurance lady. And I listened to this podcast and it talked about that as you're branding yourself and naming your company and that kind of thing, that you need to actually identify what you do. So instead of, JLM Enterprises, who knows what that person does, sure. I decided I would be the health insurance lady. And as soon as I lasered in on that, nobody ever again at a networking event ever had to say, so what kind of insurance do you sell? It was in the name. And so the conversation, was in a networking conversation was really easy to just move forward and talk about what we both did. So as time went on, my business was extremely successful, not just because of the branding, but we'll talk more about a life event that took place that just turned a vocation into a passion. But as my business began to grow, I thought, there's no holding back this tidal wave. So much business just keeps coming in that it made sense for me to invite my adult son to join me in business. And so as we were moving towards that, I couldn't continue branding just as the health insurance lady. That wasn't going to work for a 30-year-old man. So I realized that I needed to do something more with the name. and played with a lot of words and, reached out to a lot of girlfriends. And it was actually Nicole Albrecht, who both Misty and I are affiliated with, who said, in choosing words, she goes, I really like the word thrive. And I go, well, great, Thrive Health Insurance Services. And I thought, there's no way the Department of Insurance will agree to that, but I sent the request and they approved it. And
Awesome.
so that's how that name evolved. Since then, all the marketing that I've been able to do revolves a lot about thriving, and I get to use the name of the business to help promote that.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
amazing. And Misty said it at the start. I don't know if it was our pre-talk or during the show. I absolutely love that, because we know we're in a season now, not only in our life, but in the world, where people have been surviving for so long. And to come to a place where you're thriving, not only do you get to thrive in your life, but now you get to brand yourself as such. So when the world sees you, when they see your organization, when they see the product and services that you offer, your customer service, they think about thriving, which to me means something far more than just providing. It's thriving.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. I love the way you put that. Man, if someone calls me, I'm not just providing an enrollment into health insurance. I'm like, okay, we're going to have a long talk about now how you actually use this and the doctors you're going to see.
Yes. Love it.
You layered a lot of things in there, and one of my favorite words is alignment. And I think when you come into alignment, things start to flow. And there's a lot of talk about, and taking pride in, and it's not wrong, grinding. Like I hustle, I work, I go. But when you are aligned with, I think, your purpose, your gifts, and your bigger cause, and then you're able to find that into aligning it with your company. And you said, I took a vocation into a passion. I'm going to use that as a quote. I took a vocation into a passion, that you no longer are grinding when that alignment is, because things are flowing to you, and you started to expand so fast, you had to expand literally into another person because of your alignment with, now it was a passion. It wasn't a day job. It was something that you were called into doing through an experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I can say that when I first started in insurance, it was awful. I was terrible. And I was property and casualty, and, people would change brokers for $35 a month. And so it just didn't, it just didn't resonate with me. And I had a client who said, Jami, you do my business insurance. In the past, you've done my payroll. Can you also take over my health insurance? And I kind of did it. Well, yeah, give me a minute. I'll go get that license. Got the license, called him, and I said, I'm ready to become your broker of record. And his name was Mike. And Mike said, well, great. Let me tell you about my family. And he said, my wife is a breast cancer survivor. My son has special needs. I want to be sure that they, have access to the care that is going to continue to sustain them. And so here's this man that I'd known for 5 years, and this is the first time he's talking about his family and his desire to provide and protect for his family. And so I hung up from that phone call and I went, oh my gosh, this touched my soul. I want to do more of this. And so that was the first experience, and I was very fortunate to be at the right place at the right time, which, when I say that, it's if you keep showing up, you will be at the right place at the right time.
Absolutely.
But the Affordable Health Care Act had just rolled out. And because the commissions for health insurance agents were being cut by 75%, all of the old health insurance agents said, forget it, I'm out of here. I don't work for that little. And so for those of us who were new or remaining, it was everybody had to change insurance. And so it was a tidal wave of phone calls and enrollments, and I became an expert very quickly just through sheer volume. And to take those calls, and again, having conversations about their health needs, and becoming an expert very quickly. I was excited to get up every morning, and I was working from home, so it was I'd be, where everybody tells you, meditate, exercise, deep breathe, journal, and all that stuff. I'd be like, I'm going to go get my coffee, and I'd show up at my computer still in my robe because I was so excited to get to work. And, and it would be 10 o'clock and I'm still in my robe. And I'm like, okay, need to take a break, really should brush my teeth and put some clothes on. But it was that level of excitement of having found something that truly, it again wasn't just a vocation, and I wasn't counting pennies. I wasn't doing, okay, what's the commission going to be next month? It was, I'm just so excited to get to serve people at this level, that the finances couldn't help but roll in because of the volume that I was serving.
That's exciting. That's exciting. And I think when you love what you do, as they say, you never work a day in your life. And so you showed up and you said, I didn't count the pennies. I didn't count the cost. I just showed up and did the work. I served those that I was called to serve. That's powerful. And there's an expression that says, when you're given little and you know how to multiply that, that's huge. And what will happen is much will be given to you. Much will be given to you. And it's apparent that that is what has happened in your practice, in your business, Jami. And I'm so excited to hear that. We are super delighted about this journey you've been on.
It's been quite a journey. So Misty, shall I talk about the life event that shifted everything?
Absolutely, please.
Okay. So I've been in health insurance. I lose track. Yeah, it's probably 9 years by now. And 6 years ago, during open enrollment, which is for a health insurance agent, that's your busy season. That's where, you don't plan lunches, you don't plan dinners, nothing. You're at the computer all day fixing people and enrolling people. So it was during open enrollment. It was in November. And I woke up with one really weird symptom on a Monday morning, and was in front of my doctor by noon. And within 2 weeks, I was diagnosed with bladder cancer. And this was shocking because I was healthy. It came totally out of left field. So again, we're in open enrollment, and I thought, okay, well, this is awesome because this means I can change my insurance plan and, buy the biggest and best insurance policy there is. And through that process of needing to meet my own medical needs, I was able to look very closely at every single health insurance plan, now no longer as a broker, but as a consumer. And what I discovered was insurance isn't about providing you more coverage. It's actually simply a financial product that's based on math. And when I looked at the math, knowing that I had cancer, and so I was going to be one of those patients that, had hundreds of thousands of dollars of bills and invoices, what I discovered was it was actually the cheapest health insurance policy was going to be financially the most cost effective. And so that was a big revelation for me as a health insurance agent. And here we are 6 years later. That's information that I'm able to communicate with people who say, I want a zero deductible and I want to pay as little as possible. And I do the math with them, and I save them thousands of dollars a year once I explain the math of health insurance. So that was one thing that came out of it. The other thing that came out of it was just the experience of what a life-changing event getting a cancer diagnosis is. And whatever mindset you had prior to that, your mindset changes, because even though cancer now in our generation and in our day and age, even though now it's very treatable, some of them aren't as treatable, and we don't know what's going to happen. And so truly, when you get that diagnosis, your life is threatened. And suddenly everything that was important becomes insignificant, because now mentally, this is about your life. And so going through that experience was, in the very beginning, I felt that my brain had been hijacked. It was hard to think about anything other than a cancer diagnosis. Yet I was in open enrollment, which was the busiest time. I had a lot of people that needed to be served, and I wanted to be able to continue to show up for them. And so one of the things that I was able to do, years later, I ended up writing a book, but one of the things that was most effective for me, there you go. One of the things that was most effective for me was, instead of letting cancer take over my brain and my thoughts, I decided that before I would start work every morning, I would have a strategic meeting with cancer. You know, of course, these are the things we learn in business, and, you know, create your priorities, create your plan and all of that stuff. But I thought, if it works in business, let's give it a shot with cancer. And so every morning I would get up, I would get dressed for work, and I would go into my living room, and I would have a conversation with cancer. And it was out loud. And so it was, you know, I would kind of greet cancer, welcome to our meeting, I'm glad you could make it. And then I would out loud articulate the things I was afraid of. And then I would pause and I'd think, well, what are the solutions to those things that are dominating or taking over, hijacking my thought process? And so one of the things I was really afraid of was losing all of my hair. I'm vain. I didn't want to lose my hair. And so I articulated that, and the solution was, well, if I do lose my hair, then I'm going to spend a fortune on wigs, and I'm going to have better hair than ever before. And another one was, I don't like to throw up. You hear all the stories about people going through chemo and being nauseous all the time, and thought about that. And, you know, one of the things is CBD or THC, whatever that is, marijuana, will help with nausea. And I had never, ever in my life, ever smoked marijuana, but I was like, I will light up if it's going to keep me from throwing up. Okay, so there was that solution. And so then the next one was, okay, what else am I afraid of? And truly it was, well, what if cancer takes my life? And I paused, and I thought, well, what's the solution? And there was no solution. That wasn't something that I could exercise any control over. And so again, sitting in my living room out loud, I just went, well, Creator, that's going to be the one that you have to take care of. Mm. And in articulating that, and even, you know, making hand motions, Creator, it's all yours. That really helped center me for the rest of the day. And so I could go on with my day and I could do my job. And of course, you know, cancer is cancer, and it's still going to filter, you know, it's still going to pop up in your thoughts in the course of the day. And I'd say, well, I'll take care of you tomorrow morning. We'll meet again then. And so that morning routine was very effective for me in my mental attitude going through this catastrophic illness. And catastrophic it was. In order for them to take care of the bladder cancer, I ended up having to have this outrageously radical surgery. And here I am 6 years later, and you would never know if you met me in person that my body is literally bionic. They took out the bladder and everything around it and repurposed healthy body parts to create a replacement for that internally. And so, I mean, to use the word thrive, you know, if you were to say Jami is thriving, to me, that is such an understatement at this point. I'm not just thriving. I'm like, you know, every day I'm conquering the world. Mm-hmm. So that story is really important in that, because of that experience, now when I talk to people, especially people over age 55, knowing the statistics for how much more likely a person over age 55 is to get cancer, we talk differently about the health insurance that they're choosing than if I'm talking to a 25-year-old. And having that conversation and educating them on, here's how your insurance works, and if this catastrophic event happened, then this is what your insurance would do for you. And let's be sure you have access to the best doctors. So let's not choose the cheapest plan. We don't have to choose the most expensive plan, but let's be sure you have access. And so in doing that, again, my business it just continues to be a tidal wave, because I'm so passionate, not just about the product, but about what that product can do for people if they end up in the same situation that I was in.
That's
And
amazing.
You
yeah,
dropped so many
it's
business nuggets there. It was insane. I want to jump in because I don't want
okay.
the people to miss some of the stuff. So when we look at traditional business, everyone focuses, not everyone, but there's a traditional focus on quote sales. And if you're looking at what am I selling my consumers, what am I selling my customers, the first thing you did that really helped your business was looking at something through their eyes, not broker to customer, but becoming a customer of your own product. And we recommend that all the time. What is the journey for your customer? What does that look like if you were on the other side of the table? And without meaning to, you sat on the other side of the table and started to see it in a different light. And then a lot of times, and I've been to sales trainings and I've been to insurance sales trainings when they're like, well, how do you up the sale? How do you get someone else to not just go for the bare minimum? How do you get them to go into the more ones? Because there's more commission on the higher ones. And that is a thought. And I'm not here to shame or blame anything, but I want you to notice the difference in even how it feels. You went from what is the best for them when they have all this laid out in front of them that they could choose. And I could give them some really amazing advice on the worst case scenario, best case scenario, and honestly show them this policy above this is going to be the best for not only peace of mind, but even financially when you're running the numbers with a bigger picture. And I'm sure time after time, and people are going to put on the one that works best for them. And sometimes that might be in that higher category, which is not going after commission, but going after their security. So helping the customer from their needs standpoint and their benefits. There's this shift where we're not transactional, that business now is relationship. It's based on relationship. People want relationship transactions. They're tired of the one and done. And I think by your journey and where you're sitting, you're able to do that. And you don't have to be in insurance. I think where we on the show, and me and Kimberly are big on, we even have a book about it. Follow your passion, start a business. But you're unique in that, and there's lots of our listeners that are the same, is you stayed in a vocation and turned that into a passion. And in your own sense, then became an entrepreneur, owning your own business in the realm of what you've been doing, but were able to shift it on such a cosmic level of belief and understanding that turned on the financial faucets of that coming in. And we all know finances just amplifies you. It doesn't change you. And so as these finances are falling into you, what I appreciate about financial well-being is you turned on the out faucet and now you're pouring into these organizations that have amazing heart. And this faucet's not getting less. This faucet's getting more. And now you're pouring out more. And I think there's this level of vibration of, when you are in that sort of flow, you don't know what the hell to do with the money. You're taking care of yourself. You're taking care of your home. You're setting the legacy for your family. But now you're like, I have to give. And this is how I'm giving. I'm going to give here. I'm going to give there. And I think your journey has led to such an amazing sort of place where people have those weird conversations like, it keeps coming in. Like people talk about this. But the more I give, the more people call because they need the help when I sit here to give them the help and not to sell the service.
That's good.
You know, one of the things, I grew up in a very conservative church environment. And so what was preached at us was that money is the root of all evil, which turns out is not biblical. So as I have grown and evolved, I have adopted the mindset that if you have the ability to make money, then it's your responsibility to make as much money as possible so that you can give back to people who can't. And so every year as I watch my income increase, it isn't what bigger car can I drive, but it's my response is, well, then I can give more money to Michelle's Place Cancer Resource Center. And I can take on special projects with them and help them serve their purpose that no one should face cancer alone. And talk about, just a full circle of resonance of that they help me, I help them, they have their new clients call me for assistance. And even though, I'm making a ridiculous amount of money in comparison to all the years that I worked under somebody else. And I don't even know where I was going with that thought. But it keeps growing. And every time I create a goal, here's my financial goal, I'm like, well, I blew that one out of the water too. And I think a lot of it has to do with the reality is I would do this for free.
That's awesome.
I love this so much, and what I'm doing for people and what I'm giving to people in those conversations, I would do this for free. Being a cancer survivor, excuse me, I'm extremely sympathetic to people when they first get diagnosed. And so I get a lot of those phone calls because I'm not shy on social media about letting people know that I'm a cancer survivor. So not only do I get those calls from my community, but then also Michelle's Place Cancer Resource Center sends their people to me for help. And when I get a call from somebody who's just been diagnosed, and it's either that person or their mom is calling, their wife is calling, the person who's going to be a caregiver, I tell them, I say, for you, I don't end work at 5 o'clock at night. I'm available to you 24/7, and you can call me on the weekend. Even if you think it has nothing to do with health insurance, believe me, I've already walked in your shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there are going to be questions that you have that come up Saturday night. Call me, I will answer. Because the sooner you can get answers to that question, the sooner you can go to sleep that night.
Oh.
And if nothing else, I want to help you sleep better. And so, I mean, that's just the level. 24/7, you get diagnosed, I'm yours 24/7.
And Jami, as a result of your heart, number one, and your hard work that you've done over the years, when you said your financial, you can't even explain it, you're at levels you just don't know, that's the reward. That is the reward for all of what you poured in over the years. Again, much when somebody is given little, they're given much. And you're seeing it over and over and over again. And that's so exciting. I want to bring you to a place of really talking to our audience. You've shared your story. You've talked a little bit about how you've seen great financial success, but also how you've helped people save. And I'm going to use the word save money, even though they might have bought a more expensive policy. And I speak from also 11-year cancer survivor myself, also formerly being a life and health insurance agency. So I have a little knowledge base on that. But I want you to give our listeners maybe 3 things they can do personally when it comes to financial wellness, whether it relates to insurance or overall, because you've had this journey, this pathway that you've taken, and it's led you here, which, as you said, you're in a place that you can't even, I'm going to use the word understand, a great place because of the work and the rewards. So maybe give us 3 tips that they can use as they continue building their entrepreneurial business, as they build their executive enterprise, or as emerging leaders.
So Misty and I share a mutual contact, Nicole Albrecht. And Nicole told me that she would list her goals, laminate them, and hang them in her shower to see every morning. And so as I was starting on my entrepreneurial journey, I put a dollar figure, and it was, my goal is $100,000. And I laminated that and I put it in the shower. What followed was absolutely unexpected. In the shower, I would have arguments with myself. I've never made anywhere near that amount of money, and I would look at that and I'd go, Jami, who do you think you are? You'll never make that. Why do you need that much money for? You can get by on half of that. And so there were these ongoing battles, and I mean, literally, it took months and months for me to work through that. Jami, not only are you worthy of making that much money, you're smarter than anybody you ever worked for who was making more than that. Of course, it's okay, and you can, and you're capable of making that dollar figure. And so that would be number one, is set a dollar figure for yourself that you don't even believe that you're capable of, and then argue your way into that success. Because I realized the person that had been holding me back was myself.
Love it.
And my friend Jackie Steed, who is one of the greatest real estate agents in our region right now, we were kind of growing up together in growing in business. And every once in a while I'll check in with her and I'll go, okay, so how many did you close this week? And so we'll compare numbers, and we keep saying to each other, how did we not know that we were this capable?
That's awesome.
And so I'd say that the one big thing around that just has to do with believing that you're capable. The next thing in terms of financial success is laser focus. When I went from representing 5 lines of insurance to becoming laser focused to I'm going to be an expert in health insurance, then I was seen as an expert and more people came to me as an expert. And so becoming an expert and becoming laser focused in your knowledge and your understanding of that line of business that you're going to represent, that's a big step towards financial growth. And then I think for me, the third one is knowing how you operate best. And having, some emotional IQ and understanding of yourself. Misty introduced me of somebody who takes action. Well, what I know about myself is I am a burst of energy. So I've been in other sales jobs where it was a long sales cycle. I was selling office furniture, and if someone was going to be redecorating, their entire office, that was a very long sales process, and I would get bored halfway through. I'm a burst of energy. So this selling health insurance resonates with me because in some cases it's one conversation and the enrollment is complete. And so I get that quick burst of success and that feeling of did it, nailed it, got them what they needed. I served that person and now I'm ready for the next one. So I think it's really important to understand your own rhythms and how that's going to resonate within whatever field you're representing.
I love that. So really quickly, I actually kind of heard 4 things. And if I may, Jami, number 1 was to set a dollar amount for yourself. Then I heard you say, have belief. And I think we don't want to skip that one because it's super important. Then I heard you say, get laser focused, right? Yeah. And then that last one, which you just shared, was really about, emotional intelligence, kind of knowing yourself. Those are really powerful ways to really get a person plugged in and on their pathway when it comes to financial wellness. Now, Misty, I know you were going to add something as well.
One thing I think when it comes to financial wellness is, have you ever been in a situation where you've been talking to someone or there was a great business or a cause and you were like, I wish I could help. I wish I could contribute. I wish I could give money or time, and you didn't. Maybe you didn't have the money at that time, or maybe you didn't have the time, but in your heart, it was like that. Oh, if I was a millionaire, I would have helped this person, or I would have gave. I wish I was at that level. And what I think I appreciate about the financial health is you could be at any level and give. And it's that money is an energy. It's not a thing. And so when we understand that money is an energy and it flows in and it flows out, it'll flow at different levels depending on how much you are connecting and disconnecting to it. But one of the things with Jami is when in the moment, if she is moved, she is financially moved, she will contribute. And that could be maybe, and one of my favorite stories is a neighbor had a foster youth and didn't even need a little extra help, but Jami's was like, I'm going to support your senior year. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to go to prom. You're going to get new clothes, and was able to financially help. And then she already talked about her own story is call me on Saturday so you could sleep better. She gives her time to help for the causes. And I know her. She's amazing at taking her vacation. She's amazing at understanding when she wants to have a cup of coffee or tea, and amazing at she loves to work, and unapologetically, it's going to feel great about loving to work. So I think the balance of the 4 weeks that we've been talking about, your spiritual, your emotional, your mental, is you have to know you. And I think you nailed that on that last one. Number 4, we're going to call it, is knowing yourself best. But I think you also have to operate in a flow of the higher power. When you're called to something, be called to that in that moment and not on argue it or, oh, I could have, would have, or I should have. But I think a lot of financial opportunities are missed in the moments when it's coming from outside ourselves and we talk ourselves out of something that maybe was a bigger opportunity.
Yes.
And the thing I
Yes.
love about Jami, just knowing you for this short time, is watching you just harness opportunities to the fullest, to where it impacts everyone in that opportunity.
So I'd like to share with you that number, that $100,000 number that used to be up in my shower. Now my financial goal is at the top of my vision board, which is at the end of my bed, so I see it every day. And now the number is 5 times the original number that I set for myself.
Awesome.
And I'm now going back and having that same experience. Who do I think I am?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it's like, I will do that. It's a
That's
goal, and I can give back more.
That's beautiful. That is so beautiful, Jami. You have been a light to our show today, and we hope that you listeners out here listening, you have really taken something away, taken some nuggets that you can actually use. And here's the truth. Sometimes it's just a word that can make an impact on what you're doing or how you see things. So we want to invite you to fully engage. And if you haven't listened to the previous shows in our wellness series, please go back and listen to 95, 96, 97, and get some nuggets that you can use in your personal life. So Jami, tell our audience where they can find you.
Oh gosh. If you were to search the health insurance lady on Google, I will come up.
Awesome.
You can find me as Jami Buchanan McNees on social media. If you were to go to Amazon.com and search Jami Buchanan McNees, you'll find a plethora of books that I have either written or co-written. And my email address is simply jamie@thehealthinsurancelady.com.
And we will have that all in the notes, even the Google part, what to Google, where to click, where to find her. And if the beautiful thing about your book, and I think it was Nicole who said it doesn't have to be cancer. If you're going through something that is life-changing through reading this book and taking out the word cancer and inserting the word for what you're going through, whether it's divorce, whether it's being fired from a job or let go of, or whatever that is your mountain, if you will, you could plug and play in and understand at the level of what Jami has written in her book.
Awesome. Can't wait to take a look at that, Jami. Again, we thank you for joining us on our show. And with that, as we say every single week, there's something out there waiting for you.
Now go get it.